Joining us on the phone, I would say, I'm going to go ahead and say it, our all-time favorite guest.
That's a big one right there. All-time favorite. I'm on board.
I'm on board with it also. I mean, we have the mayor, we have every elected official in Tallahassee, but since we've had this gentleman on, I really like him.
Me too.
I really like him. Congressman Michael Waltz. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope you guys had a wonderful Independence Day. Sounds like people are still having one. I heard that backyard fireworks sales, I saw a statistic, were up like 250%.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised.
Those businesses, yeah, right.
Yeah, when you see the Lambos riding down around Florida, you know that you'll go, ooh, fireworks salesman. with the new cars and everything. How was your Fourth, Congressman?
It was great. I was able to spend it with family, and actually hid my phone for about 24 hours.
Wow.
And just how amazing to just celebrate America and then never ever take every day that we wake up here, breathe in free air in a free country, able to say what we want and do what we want. Never take that for granted. So it was good. Thank you.
And again, we thank you all the time for your service, but thank you for what you did and what everybody that has served our country has done, so we could truly celebrate what we did on Saturday. Did you get a chance to watch the speech at Mount Rushmore with the president?
Yeah, I watched most of it. First of all, I don't know if you saw the pan back of kind of the stage and the build out and the setting under Mount Rushmore. It was stunning. I mean, it was just jaw-droppingly beautiful. What an incredible setting. I was jealous that I didn't kind of elbow my way onto the script. I mean, my daughter's looking at me like, in our backyard fireworks, like, Dad,
what are you doing? I mean, you get to go to the Daytona 500 on Air Force One. Why couldn't we, head up to South Dakota and go up to, the Badlands and see that celebration? I completely agree with you. I thought the fireworks celebration was fantastic. The flyover by Air Force One, the Blue Angels coming through. I mean, it was just, It was America. It was awesome to watch, and I thought that the message that the president put out was something that all Americans could get behind. It's, obviously if you're, watching the likes of CNN and MSNBC, you would think it was, the nastiest speech that was ever perpetrated by President Trump during his presidency over the last 4 years. But I thought it was truly a message of unity. We've seen a lot of commentary talking about he was just wanting to defend Confederate monuments, yet he did not mention a single, Confederate or a member of the Confederacy or the monuments himself. He mentioned, I think, 8 or 9 different prominent African Americans that have helped shaped and build this country. And I took away a real message of unity and love of country and patriotism from that speech itself.
Well, that's one of the parts that I really focused on, was that when he walked through the African Americans as a key part of building this country, not a single mention in the mainstream media. And God forbid he actually denounced the rioters and the looters that I think have taken away and diluted their the message of those who are peacefully protesting or wanting change or what have you. God forbid should he denounce them. That's the part that they focused on. Look, the media at this point is barely hiding it, if not at all, that they will report, do, or say whatever it takes to get him defeated. In November, it's almost starting to remind me of kind of the Kavanaugh hearings.
Sure.
Where in their minds the ends have justified the means. They've set aside journalistic standards. They've set aside any sense of objectivity, and the agenda is the agenda of getting him defeated is justifying justifying unethical journalism, and it's really a shame. It puts us as Republicans constantly 3 touchdowns back, starting every game. But that's okay, because our ideas and the ideals of this country, though not perfect, will prevail, and I'm convinced they will.
We're getting closer to RNC in Jacksonville. How's all the planning with that going, with the procedures and the protocols that seem to be getting updated on a daily basis because of these uncertain times.
Yeah, well, first of all, hosting a convention within just a few months when normally there's a few years of planning is a huge hurdle, number one. And then number two, to do it, in the middle of a global pandemic adds a layer on there. But I had dinner with some of the planners and the team last night. I'm on the host committee. They are committed to a very substantial testing regime where everybody is tested every day, and working out the details of that right now. But the capacity and the technology is there. So I think you're going to see at the end of this that we can, again, as we've been saying, as the governor's been saying, the president, Mayor Curry, myself, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Okay. That we can come together and nominate our president and do so safely. Right, we can open our economy and do so as safely as possible. But these kind of binary choices of just stick your head in the sand, and as Governor Cuomo is saying now, of keeping malls and gyms and other facilities closed until we have a vaccine, isn't realistic, and it's not responsible. I mean, what does he mean when he says that? Is it until it's invented? Is it until it's fully mass produced? Until it's actually injected in 300 million Americans? And, one thing, guys, I want to say very quickly, the folks calling for shutdowns and the critics, almost all of them are receiving government paychecks. The ones making these decisions, I think if Governor Cuomo suspended his paycheck as long as he's advocating for shutdowns, or politicians didn't get paid, or government health officials didn't get paid, like so many of these businesses, we may have different recommendations.
Sure, and that's a point that I've been making this entire time, is that the people that I see on my Twitter and Facebook timeline that are just blatantly calling for a shutdown of the economy until we have some sort of vaccine for the coronavirus are the ones that are still receiving paychecks. They're not the ones that are struggling to pay their rent or to pay their car insurance or their the actual note on their car. They're the ones that are still receiving paychecks and are fine sitting at home until this thing blows over. And it's just, that's not reality for the mass majority of this country. People need to be able to get back to work. And I think the messaging from the multitude of levels, whether it be local, state, or federal government, has been, look, we need to open this thing back up, but we need to do it in a safe and meaningful way so that we don't have to shut things back down again. And I think I've been impressed with the, I guess, standards that have been laid out throughout the country on a multitude of levels, and really putting the onus on those local governments to make the best decisions for their local constituencies instead of just putting a blanket statement over the entire country.
Well, yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that as well. And I think the other key piece of this is that local elected officials who put their name on the ballot and have their own authorities can make decisions here. We don't need every single decision to come out of Washington, D.C. For national mandates, or we don't need every decision to come out of Tallahassee for statewide mandates. Right. As you guys all know, the Panhandle is night and day different than South Beach. And if local governments are having a serious hotspot, as measured by hospitalization capacity, as measured by deaths, not just cases, then they need to make their own decisions, and I think they're doing so. But that's not what the left wants. The left wants to see mass blanket decisions. So I think that's what we're seeing coming out of this. And then the other piece, guys, I'm still working, chopping away at a China task force. I don't think we can lose sight of the narrative that China needs to pay for this.
Sure.
And where this originally came from. And we are working hard on onshoring a lot of our manufacturing, or at least nearshoring it to allies. I just bought a pack of masks yesterday and saw "Made in China" on it. And so we have to change that in the long term as well.
Sure, no doubt. And one last thing before we let you go here, there's been some numbers announced over the last week or so in relation to the payroll protection program and the recipients of that. There's been, I think, a lot of a lot of people out there have been a little bit dismayed at some of the corporations that have received these funds, multi-billion-dollar industries that are, receiving millions and millions and millions of dollars. There has been, I believe, an announcement from the Trump administration that they won't be announcing anybody who received less than $150,000. So that takes away from, a lot of the at least small business being highlighted.
Right.
But where are you on this, and where is the federal government on potentially adding any more funds to this payroll protection program?
Well, I think we have to keep in perspective that this program didn't even exist several months ago.
Sure.
I mean, so we literally built the rocket while launching the rocket, and it was intended as kind of, in military terms, as a pressure bandage for that sucking chest wound. And I think in that sense, if you look at the other statistics, that 85% of the loans, 85% went to businesses for $150,000 or less.
Right.
60% went for less than $50,000. And you look at the fact that the Small Business Administration processes typically $30 billion in a year. This program processed $500 billion in a few months.
Right.
And I'm talking to business after business after business. When I walk in and I ask them, did they take the money? And they're like, oh my God, thank you. Because they were able to keep their folks on payroll. So I think most broadly it has been a success. I mean, are the media going to highlight the people who acted irresponsibly? Yes. Do I wish we had put some more provisions in there to kind of safeguard? Yes. But we had to balance speed with developing a perfect program.
Sure.
People were desperate for help. So I think we need to highlight those success stories. And I was just with a business yesterday that said we would have been done and you wouldn't be visiting us today without the program.
We got to let you, as we always do, we got to let you go on kind of on a lighter note. Bobby Mac's favorite Bond song is "View to a Kill." Mine is Goldfinger. Bobby Mac's we've been talking Bond this morning. He's been watching all the Bonds, getting ready for the new one. If you had to pick one opening Bond song, what would be your favorite? I know that. Sorry, throwing you on the
put him on the spot.
Yes, putting you on the spot with this.
You got me, but I gotta side with you on "A View to a Kill."
There you go.
Okay.
I knew it.
Right.
I mean, I hate to pick sides.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, you can be wrong. All right, brother. We appreciate you joining us again, Congressman.
Okay, guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Congressman Michael Waltz.
Love it.
Siding with you, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.